Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. The actor was snapped at a fancy restaurant in the Sussex town of Rye as he stepped out for an afternoon. Tom Baker, 91, is best known for his role as the fourth incarnation of the infamous Time Lord. He was also remembered as the longest-serving actor to take up the prestigious role from 1974. The star eventually left the show in 1981 before Peter Davison took up the mantle. Since then he has been involved in various high-profile projects, including Little Britain with Matt Lucas and David Walliams, where he served as the narrator. 44 years after his contribution on the BBC One sci-fi drama, he looked to be in great spirits on a lunch outing. He sported his signature smile as he met friends for a leisurely midday meal at the picturesque Mermaid Inn. The star was dressed in a brown overcoat over a dark jacket with complimentary trousers. This was over a light blue shirt as he greeted his pals outside the establishment in Rye. His thick locks were on full display as he stepped out before he made his way home. This comes after he reprised his role as the Fourth Doctor in 2017 for the first time in 36 years. He completed the lost story within the long-running franchise that was called Shada. The addition was set to be the celebratory end to the 17th series of Doctor Who in 1979. But it was left incomplete due to strike action at the BBC. Tom also made an appearance as the mysterious curator character in the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor. The special acclaimed episode was broadcast to fans on screen in November 2023. A Doctor Who legend was spotted on a rare outing as he met his friends for a slap-up lunch. The sun had only just begun to break through the spring clouds over a quaint London neighbourhood when something unusual occurred, unusual even by British standards, where double-decker buses and corgis in sweaters are part of the daily tapestry. At first, few noticed the older gentleman stepping out of a sleek, dark car outside the ivy Chelsea garden. He moved with quiet dignity, cane in hand, and a glimmer in his eye that defied the passage of time. For any passing pedestrian, he might have seemed like just another dapper retiree out for a luxurious lunch. But fans of a certain long-running sci-fi series would have recognized him in an instant. The tweed coat. The bow tie. That twinkle in his eye that hinted at infinite galaxies and countless regenerations. This wasn't just any man. This was the Doctor. Well, a doctor, at least. It was none other than Sylvester McCoy, the seventh Doctor of Doctor Who, a man who had long traded in his umbrella for quieter days, but who still carried the aura of a Time Lord. Though it had been decades since he battled Daleks and outwitted Cybermen on screen, the legacy of his role had not faded. And neither, it seemed, had his love for a proper British meal with good friends. Inside the restaurant, the staff had already been abuzz with rumors. Word had leaked early that a few celebs might be stopping by. But when McCoy arrived, it wasn't just any celebrity lunch. It was a Time Lord's reunion. Waiting for him at the table were two other icons, Colin Baker, the brash, colorful Sixth Doctor with his unmistakable mane of white hair, and the ever-affable Paul McGann, the romantic and brooding Eighth Doctor, whose single TV movie role had turned into a cult phenomenon. The three greeted each other with warm embraces, laughter, and inside jokes only Gallifreyans could understand. Decades may have passed since they stood beneath the bright lights of a BBC soundstage, but their chemistry hadn't aged a day. Still wearing that ridiculous scarf, I see, McCoy chuckled, gesturing not to Baker's neck, but to a multicolored handkerchief poking out of his breast pocket, a cheeky homage to Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor. Oh, Sylvester, Colin replied, coming from the man who wielded a cane like a lightsaber. Paul McGann, leaning back in his chair, added with a smile, well, at least none of us tried to act like the cool Doctor. A beat passed. All three looked at each other. David Tennant, they said in unison, rolling their eyes. The table was soon filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and what could only be described as a slap-up lunch. Bangers and mash, lamb shank, a few cheeky pints, and a dessert trolley that would make even the master turn over a new leaf. But beyond the food and the nostalgia, the Doctors talked about life, the parts fans rarely get to see. Sylvester spoke of his travels post-Who, the theatre tours across Europe, and the joy of performing Shakespeare to packed houses. Colin shared updates on his audiobook recordings and a new sci-fi novel he'd secretly been writing under a pen name. And Paul, ever the wanderer, spoke about a motorcycle trip across America that he'd taken alone, incognito, sleeping under stars and staying in roadside motels. They reminisced not only about the show's heyday but also its surreal legacy. How the role had opened doors, and sometimes closed them. How it had changed the trajectory of their lives forever. "There's a kid in Argentina," Paul said softly, "who wrote me last year. Said watching Doctor Who during a really rough patch saved his life. He'd never seen anything like it before, said it made him believe in possibilities again." Sylvester nodded. "We were all just actors doing our best. Funny, isn't it, how pretending to travel in time somehow makes you more grounded?" Colin raised his glass. To the power of imagination. It was near the end of their lunch when the impossible happened. A young boy, no older than 10, stood at their table, eyes wide as twin suns. Clutched in his hand was a worn DVD case, Doctor Who, Remembrance of the Daleks. I'm sorry to bother you," he stammered, looking directly at Sylvester McCoy. "But, are you really the Doctor?" The room fell quiet. Sylvester smiled, beckoning the boy closer. "Well, I used to be. These days I'm more of a retired Time Lord. But yes, that was me." The boy's eyes filled with awe. "You were my dad's favorite doctor. He passed it on to me." Colin and Paul exchanged a glance, then motioned for the boy to sit for a moment. In a moment that felt more scripted than real, Sylvester pulled a pen from his coat pocket and signed the DVD case with a flourish. To another brave traveler through time, he wrote, "Keep exploring." The boy beamed. "I don't think I'll ever forget this," he whispered. Chapter 4, The Departure. By the time the check was paid and coats were on, the three doctors had drawn a small crowd outside the restaurant. Passers-by whispered and snapped photos, some recognizing them instantly, others simply intrigued by the trio of charismatic older men laughing in the sunlight. "I almost feel like we should disappear in a puff of smoke," Paul joked. "Or hop into a blue police box parked nearby." Colin raised an eyebrow. "Now that would be a headline." As they walked toward their cars, Sylvester paused. He turned back to take in the scene, the city bustling around them, the laughter of children nearby, the clouds giving way to blue sky. "There's something about days like this," he said, mostly to himself. "Like you stepped out of time for a little while." Colin clapped him on the shoulder. "That's because we did, old friend. We always do." And with that, the trio dispersed, disappearing into the city like echoes from another era. A moment out of time.